far from home, farmer. How did you make it all this way in your little boat?
Why do we gotta be farmers just because we're from Deerwood?
Are you a farmer?
Yeah, but you can't just assume. We got rabble-rousers, too.
I'm the harbor master, Kauha. I must ask your reason for docking in Neketaka. Yeah, you do need to see someone, truly. I think it's the animancers in the spire you're looking for. To help with your head.
Show them. Show them what you are. Yes. Yes. That's it.
What's the matter with you? What are you doing? If you're trying to scare us with some cipher mischief, save the purple flames for the tribes of the Outer Islands.
Now.
What? What is this?
Run for it! I think I got a ghost up my nose there. That's better. What?
And now Port Marche is behind us. I thought this would be a relief.
Need a fresh jacket or pants? Something more delicate? Take your time.
Care for a fish or two, stranger? You'll find no fresher.
Welcome! Venturing out past the city. You'll want supplies. Of course. Take your time.
Dora must think I work for free. Be with you in just a... Almost had it. Damn it. Hazard of the work, really. Came in on the sloop? I can hammer your ship together if you're apt to pay me for it. Aye. Captain Redora hasn't paid me for her commissioned firepower. While I'm up to my nose in debt, the wild mare gobbles up her coin. And now, pirates are holding my feet to the fire over some sham of a deal. If I don't get Redora's payment, I might as well start carving my swallow net. You do that? A fair price goes without saying, Cully. It all comes down to blasted pans and pyres in the end, doesn't it? Well, come take a look. I'll see it done. Need a hand? I'm on it.
Watcha. Tiverus. Is it really you?
Hey, I know those feathers. Pallegina.
It's been ages. But what's happened to your armor?
You two know each other? I mean, I wouldn't be jealous if you did.
I'm sure that even at Cadnois, you must have heard what happened when I returned to the Republics. The Republic survived. That is the most important thing. And here the company's business seems to be getting on fine without my interference. No. No company associated with the Dukes will employ me now. I get by working as a ship guard. At least I can be among my people, even if they... I suppose I should not be surprised, considering all we went through. But no, I will not be coming with you, Watcher. I would be lucky if I wound up dead. Corazón, Watcher.
Maybe we don't start with the part about Aethys next time?
Thank you again for maintaining my story in front of Vanessa and the others. I didn't enjoy deceiving them, but it seemed simpler than the alternative. Believe me, I take no pleasure in duplicity. After we parted, I set out to destroy the leaden key. It's controlled us for too long. I wanted to free Kith from it. So for 5 years, I've been tracking down leaden key circles, searching for the places where they operate in secret, trying to undo them. The task has been more difficult than I anticipated. I don't think I fully understood the weight of the decisions I would have to make, or the burden of living with them. It was much easier when I only had to follow someone else's lead. My father's, Theos's, yours. After we defeated Theos, I thought the hard part of undoing his work would be tracking down the Leaden Key's members and operations. Perhaps this would be easier with an example. I went to a village in Old Avelia, a run-down backwater of a place. Centuries ago, the Leaden Key had intervened to end some heretical cult. The details were lost, but what had endured was a practice of ritual bloodletting. A gruesome, pointless tradition.
You got an eye for charming little towns, I'll say that much.
At every full moon, the villagers would feed the soil with their blood. No one, young or old, sick or hale, was exempt. The village priest administered the practice. Grim old fellow. Reminded me of Theos. He was a tyrant. I was certain that if the villagers were free of his influence, they'd be free from the bloodletting too. So I arranged for him to have an accident. The old man died, and the villagers were terrified. They were convinced his death was an ill omen. They blamed it, and every other mishap that befell them, on their lack of faith. So they began bloodletting every week, turning on their neighbors for giving too little. Instead of a handful dying each year, a few perished every week. Is it? In the end, the villagers suffered more because of my actions. I keep wondering what I might have done differently, or how I could have known better. I suppose so. Thank you. It's a relief to share this burden. You've given me a lot to think about. Ah, that. I'm looking for an old Lenin Key sect. I've found several references, but I want to be sure. Please, let me go over my notes again. Then...
Need a hand? Ready when you are. Can do. Consider it done.
Let's see what's in here.
As promised.
Well met, stranger. If you feel like investing in protection, I'd be willing to trade iron for copper. I assure you that everything I sell is well crafted. But I will admit I'm not quite the weaponsmith that Marihi is. No, Marihi, you can find in Pariki's Overlook, the district to the north. Udo has a shop in the Brass Citadel, in the eastern part of Neketaka. Lots to see. Take your time.
So she asked him what he calls that trick, and he says, the consuele. one causing trouble in Cotter's neighborhood? Your smoke and mirror ghosts do not impress Kaletzia, and they do not scare Cotter.
Sorry, Valian names all sound the same to me.
You'll know soon enough. Cotter likes you already. What do you want? Siletzia is Cotter's heart. She is his rage and his spirit. Zamar has money problems. Cotter has solutions. The little man doesn't know how to count his coins. Cotter heard a newcomer was talking with Zamar. Tell the shipwright to accept Cotter's deal before he suffers another setback. Zamar can keep Principe ships afloat. Cotter tires of seeing his family sailing derelict wrecks. Cotter will see that his casita knows your name. There's also coin to spare. And Cotter will get you the Principe discount on Zamar's goods. Deal? Gelarde, here's an advance. Go tell Zamar the good news. Cotter will handle the rest.
Ahoy there. Any news worth telling? You actually confronted those feral cats?
What's a wolf, really, but a dog that ain't been pet enough?
You're siding with that crook? I needed coin, not a middleman to negotiate with cutthroats. That doesn't make it right. I won't be held down by schemers and killers. If it's between my life and my dignity, the Principe have their shipwright. And may Andra take them for it.
If you told me a few years ago that I'd end up following you on another crazy errand, I'd have said you were out of your mind. Not because I got anything against you, more that I'm trouble. Yet, here we are again, probably on our way to die. Well, you already did, but me, I mean... all real nice of you to share. Someday I'll have to get you a gift. And wouldn't you know it, this time is shaping up to be crazier than the last one. But I gotta say, I appreciate how you've handled things. Times like these, staying decent's not as easy as it sounds. Thought you were weird at first, of course, but you've surprised me. Well, you were having a silent chat with the dead dwarf lady when I met you. Takes a special type to overlook something like that. I've been meaning to ask, though. How is it you never seem to lose your way through all this? What is it tells you you're on the right path? Why didn't I think of that? To save myself some trouble. When I was a boy, things were simpler. Aethys was more like a character we read about in church. Yeah, I guess it was. Well, most stories had him helping folks or making the world work as it should. You pray to him, he might help you too. There was no cost to it. No confusion about his will or followers taken into extremes. Following Aethys was right. Had no reason to question. Do you think there's any way that following him could still be the right path? After all we've seen? Is that something we can ask for? Seems like the gods might take that personal. Anyway, I didn't mean for this to get depressing. I think this was just a long way of saying I appreciate the way you've guided things. Makes me feel like I'm doing some good, going with you.
We're full up, I'm afraid. If you're looking for lodging, you'll have to hope there's room at the tavern. We do indeed. Forgive me if I mistook you for a tenant. There are quarters set aside upstairs. Passers-by with a bit of extra coin will find a welcome cot and a meal. This is a temporary measure, of course. It's not my place to share the dealings of the Valera family, but this is all rather public. Suffice it to say that a family in want of coin might find alternate means of securing their finances. In the case of this estate, that means renting the occasional room. No shame in making a practical sacrifice. But I've said enough. Speak with Otello if you have business with the Valera household. You'll find Otello Valera upstairs in his study. Well, as they say, business can always be better, yes? I'm sure I needn't bore you with the details.
That'll do it. Found it.
Leave it to me. What is it? Yes, I'll take care of it.
This open and note.
That'll do it.
See it done.
Ah, a new face in the Valera halls. Not every family in the Deadfire controls the very flow of currency. My time is not inexhaustible, but I am willing to spare it. What can I do for you? Valera ships escort goods and merchants from island to island across Deadfire. The Principe dogs show us their stern whenever they spot Valera colors on the horizon.
I've got something over here.
Let's see what's in here. As promised.
In the dark.
Trouble sleeping, Watcher? Me, I sleep like an infant.
Good night, Watcher. We can speak in the morning. Ado, what brings you to the whole? Valera ships escort goods and merchants from the Principe dogs show us their...
A new face to the Valera halls. I always make time for chatter. Say what you will. Is drama an acceptable answer? I make sure the wine cellar is stocked, and that sons and daughters alike know how to carry a blade.
any way you can bring Islamir back?
The whole point of suppressing her was to keep her out of my head.
You crack the spine of the old book, revealing blackened pages of dense, illegible text. The words recede into the shadows the longer you focus on them. Suddenly, the page widens to eclipse the world around you. A dark void stretches out on all sides, the air full of choking fumes that carry dying embers and curling flakes of ash. Something stirs in the darkness. An old woman steps forward, leering down at you from on high. Her smile is toothy and cruel. Her cheeks warp around it like melted candle wax.
I'm so glad that my messenger tracked you down. These days it's impossible to find good help. Watcher, before you draw your weapon, know that these proceedings are under a banner of peace. If this was a trap, it would... While Bareth whispers in one ear and Aethys shouts in the other, I thought you could use a more seasoned perspective to drown out the noise. Insolence will not help you here, child. Don't you find it unusual how open and accessible my siblings have made themselves? After millennia of subdued whispers, now they practically scream their intentions. And isn't it strange how we never bicker unless a mortal is watching? By necessity, in fact. But that's hardly the point. If we still possessed our glorious titans, my siblings and I would have put an end to Aethys and his rampage by now. While we are powerless to stop him, some of my kin wish to observe how mortals respond to this threat. They think it will shine a light on the value of our patronage. Have we raised you well enough to be self-sufficient? Or must we return to Eora and impose some corrective measures? A cross-section of society has converged on the Deadfire. Some of my kin are of an opinion that we are meant to judge mortals on the basis of their performance, while the rest of us have already made up our minds on the matter. Judge for yourself, but I think you'll find my intentions are more straightforward than you think. When we ascended to godhood, we did so to provide for a savage people. Our goal was to craft a society whose values were made to last. Perhaps even a society that had no need of us. A naive fallacy, but one that inspired my optimistic, misguided kin. How you and your allies counter this threat will demonstrate whether you are competent enough to guide your own destinies, or the soft-hearted among us are counting on you to win this existential wager. No doubt, Aethys shares their sympathies. I do not. We exist to rule over mortals. So now you know the truth. I assume you have questions. The wheel is our shared responsibility, and each of us serves it in our own fashion. I am the axle upon which the gods balance their power. Aethys keeps the wheel in motion. He was our promise to mortals that time and labor would yield a deserving reward on the next turning of the cycle. At the height of our power, we recognized the potential of the soul. We knew that it could be bound, split apart, diverted like a river, and hammered together. Hammering was trivial. Those of us who agreed with the Apotheosis Project, and many who did not, submitted to a violent and horrible erasure of our individuality. After the dust settled, we adopted the forms of beings from Eora's most prevalent myths. There were other faiths and legends, but we labored to strike their names from history. Much of reincarnation's mechanism exists in the idea space of the beyond. You wouldn't find a wall of cogs and levers unless we conjured one to illustrate a point. The wheel has but one material component in all of Eora. Something we built to channel essence through luminous Adra and into the beyond with reliable continuity. Before we intervened, the flow of essence was directionless, unpredictable. We succeeded in widening the gap, diverting it, giving it an efficient path to follow. Before we took control of the wheel, reincarnation was error-prone, lacking forward momentum. Hollowborn were fairly common, and hardly the worst of the soul maladies. Control gave us the power to strengthen the souls of intelligent kith over generations. We made you wiser, stronger, more likely to develop the society we thought you deserved. Every turning of the cycle demonstrated the righteousness of my belief. Nature begets chaos, and discipline begets perfection. Speak, Watcher. It isn't every day that I open myself to these communions, so spend your breath wisely. Whether knowingly or unintentionally, you seem to find yourself on the vanguard of change. Mortals like you come but once in a lifetime. Some would react poorly if I stripped mortals of their freedom without giving them a chance to plead their case. You have the honor of standing tall as their advocate. Before I return to Eora and assume my position as your deserving tyrant, you have this opportunity to prove me wrong. To demonstrate whether or not mortals are responsible enough to claim their future. You speak as if you do. Mortals have precious little time to decide for themselves. Will they stand together as one, or swallow their pride and bend the knee? I have every confidence that you will disappoint us. Once my position is upheld, the undecided among the gods will embrace my plan. Prove it or disprove it, yes. I never agreed to this arrangement, but if your example demonstrates mortal ineptitude, as I trust it will, then I can make the plan serve me. An assertive minority of gods believe that your choices will prove the value of their wild optimism. As if mortal collaboration and ingenuity are endorsements of our leadership. Then there are those of us who know better, who are not so easily convinced. Kith are vulnerable, unless they submit to the destiny we chart for them. Thinking otherwise can only breed dissent and chaos. It was an ambitious plan, our utopia. Perhaps too ambitious. We ascended to power, responding to a need inadequately satisfied. Assuming these roles gave us the authority to mold Eora over time, to influence you and lay the groundwork for a society yet to come. On the outset of the plan, some believed that mortals would outgrow us, as if that was a favorable outcome. To me, our eternal pantheon was always a critical fixture. Aethys was one of those who supported mortals, while I have always been their most vocal critic. A valid, self-defeating question, and one which I posed often. We assumed that they, whoever they were, would reveal themselves to us. Rational government would rule in our stead, leaving churches vacant. Thanks to Aethys, we're pulling the dough from the oven before it's had a chance to fully rise. You unfortunate bastards never had the chance to prove me wrong. You mean gods crafting a godless world? Naturally. My siblings desired to influence mortals and steer them in a proper direction, even if that direction led to places we could not follow. I have no intention of being left behind. Society would unravel without its queen to impose strict order. Opposition can take many forms. If a church embraces and weaponizes my doctrine, that is very different from me rampaging as a titan. Aethys is not known for subtlety. Twice now, he has contaminated the purity of our experiment, and done so with extravagant displays that undermine our authority. His approach was sophisticated, indirect. I owe you no explanations on the matter. Besides, you are not worthy to speak his name. I am the counterpoint to the soft-hearted. It makes no difference if mortals pass some arbitrary test. Regardless of my feelings, the timing of this crisis forces us to accelerate our schedule. Final judgment comes sooner than any of us would prefer. If our pantheon found that mortals had cultivated a perfect, lawful system to maturity, I would not voice a word in protest. I would merely stand aside and await the inevitable collapse. Mortals need us. I know this as well as I know myself. Even a lawful and responsible society would be poised to collapse as long as its architects and strongest adherents were mortal. Any satisfaction that my siblings derived from their little experiment would be short-lived, and it would fall to me to clean up after their mess. Indeed, a little opposition is healthy. One cannot make heat without friction. Make no mistake, Watcher. In this, I cannot be proven wrong. Yes, I think we will. This is not the end of our discussion. You know how to find your way back to this place.
Wotica nods stiffly. You feel her presence drift as a breeze, rustling as it goes.
Bring them down!
Not exactly.
Area of expertise.
Try again. That looks...
That must hurt. Need a hand? Ready when you are. Just say the word. Quick and quiet.